Another example of how schools and parent groups like PTOs and PTAs can work effectively together is by coordinating fundraising throughout the entire school year. So quite often the two groups have different financial needs, but I will tell you that competing against each other is a surefire way to make sure everybody loses and that profits are suppressed for both groups. Alternatively, when you kind of work together and collaborate, you will find that profits are much higher. You really want to make sure that you're minimizing conflicts as much as possible. So conflicts on several different levels. So first, conflicts in your timing can be an absolute fundraiser killer. Like if you have fundraisers that are successive in time, meaning they're like back to back, far from ideal, that is really the worst thing you can do for fundraising because you are probably tapping into the same pot of funds, meaning your families. They're going to be upset that their pocket keeps getting dipped into or that they're being asked for money. One of the issues is that parents are not always clear about the distinction between the PTO or PTA and the school. They might think they're one and the same, especially if they're not involved. They just might not understand how the organization is structured. So if you have the school asking for money in September and then in October, the PTO is asking for money, they might think like, I just gave to the school, right? Because ultimately, parents know that all of the money raised by the PTO is going back to the school. What really needs to happen is that the school and the parent groups need to get on the same page about the financial needs of both and look for ways to work together. So the school needs to be clear about what financial support that they need and then see if the PTO can get it for you. Like it's not necessary for the school to run their own fundraiser. If you are collaborating with, supporting the parent group, they might be able to raise the money and then give you the money that you need. And so that it takes something off of your plate. So when you are looking at running your own fundraiser because you want to control things, I just don't think that's the right way to go. I've seen it done both ways. And what ends up happening is that if the school is running a separate fundraiser, they could be stepping on the toes of the PTO and the parents, and they're going to feel less inclined to get involved, to stay involved and to participate. And they could feel like it's a competition, which is maybe not what you're intending, but totally could come across that way. So just be mindful of that. The other kind of half of that on like what the school needs to be clear about what money they need. The PTOs need to be clear on what their fundraising capacity is. Like it is probably unreasonable for a PTO to be expected to raise $20,000. And also, everyone should understand that the PTO does not serve the pleasure of the school. Like if you have that kind of relationship, that's not good. That's not good. That's just not the way you want to go because the parents are doing this willingly. They are volunteering of their time. They are not paid. So really, things can be suggested. You can ask for things, but you should not, as a school, as a principal, you should not be saying, this is what we want and we absolutely need to have this. Part of having a really good relationship between the school, the administrators, and the PTO is getting on the same page about the group's needs and wants and really having a mutual respect for the time of each other, the available time, because the principals cannot be at the school 24/7. They cannot be doing things all the time. Similarly, the parents have lives too, and they are doing this in their spare time. And so they're just kind of making it work. Ideally, the school and the PTO should be looking for ways to work together so that the school their part in the fundraising process could be that they are promoting it via emails back to parents, maybe posting it on the school's social media, sending it out in the newsletter. Maybe they put up sandwich boards during the car line pickup. Like there's lots of different ways that the school can be supportive of the PTO's fundraising efforts. And this in turn will yield greater profits, hopefully greater revenue. And then the school is probably going to benefit from that. So really that's the better way of going about it rather than having your own fundraiser. So if you are dead set on having your own fundraiser, then I would just talk with the PTO well in advance, like maybe the prior school year, and figure it out and look for ways that you can make them both happen. Maybe the school wants to do spirit wear and that runs year long. And then the fundraisers that the PTO is doing, maybe they're doing a walkathon or a color run or something like that. Just look to vary the experience so that you're not having a conflict as far as product offerings. Like, you don't want to have the school sending home a product catalog one month and then the PTO doing the very same thing another month. Like, that would be disastrous because parents can only buy so much stuff out of catalogs, right? Just look to minimize conflicts whenever possible, and also look for ways to collaborate as much as possible, because really that is going to yield the best results for everybody.
Want even more guidance on how to be a stronger leader so you can run a better PTO or PTA? All of these resources and more are waiting for you at ptoanswers.com.